Welcome to everybody to the Brevard City Council regular meeting of September 15th of 2025. I just want to welcome everybody that has joined us here in person. It is always great to see the public come to our local government, and also to those that are watching the live stream. At this point, I'd like to introduce the folks sitting up here. On my far right is our city attorney, Mac McKellar. Next to Mac is City Councilman Lauren Wise. Normally, sitting next to Lauren would be Councilwoman Pamela Holder, but she is unable to be here tonight. Then we have Councilman Mac Morrow. I'm Mayor Maureen Kopoloff. To my immediate left, we have our city clerk, Denise Hodgson. Next to Denise, we have Mayor Pro Tem and Councilman Gary Daniel. Next to Gary, we have Councilman Aaron Baker. And next to Aaron, we have our city manager, Wilson Hooper. At this point, I'm very pleased to be able to ask Dr. Andrew White, the pastor of the Calvary Baptist Church, to please come forward and give our invocation.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, esteemed council members. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
I want to invite you, our services are Sunday morning, 11 o'clock. We're over by the community college across from Arby's. We preach the Bible. I'm going through Matthew right now, so you can jump in on chapter 5 with us anytime you want to. So happy to have you with us. Join me in prayer if you would. Father, we pause, and before we get started on the discussion and the business and the details and logistics of running this city, we just ask for your grace, and we remember that we live in a country that is free, and we enjoy freedoms. We can have freedom to assemble, and freedom to worship, and freedom to speak, and freedom to have meetings like this, where we can actually decide things for our own municipalities. And so we're grateful for that. Help us not to take that for granted, that we live in such a wonderful nation. We, many of us, grieve over what we saw this past week, and we ask that you would keep violence like that away from our city and help us to be a people that pursue peace and unity. We live in a very fractured nation, disunified. We pray that you would unify, that you would pour out a spirit of kindness among all of our citizens, especially those who represent this city and this county. We thank you for Brevard. I moved here 2 years ago, and we have enjoyed everything about it, from where it's situated to the kindness of the people to the schools and the sports and all of the activities, and we're just thankful that we get to live in a place like this. I've lived in a lot of places. This is a nice one, and we're thankful. And we pray that you would protect our city, that you would give us unity. I pray that we would develop and continue to develop a spirit of kindness and welcoming to the outsider, and that we would represent North Carolina and Brevard really well to the people who come in from all over the place. We pray for this meeting that you would give this council wisdom. Your word says that if anyone lacks wisdom, he should ask for it, and you would grant it liberally. So I'm bold enough this evening to ask for wisdom as we gather and discuss the needs of our area. We're going to talk, I'm sure, about logistics and stewardship of resources and planning. And we just ask that you would give wisdom to everyone in this room, to the council, to make wise decisions that bless our city and that promote peace and prosperity and unity. We know that these good gifts come from you, the Father of lights, and we're thankful. We pray that you would bless this time together. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor Andrew. All right, if everyone would please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Attention, honor, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Madam Clerk, do we have a quorum?
Yes, Madam Mayor, you do have a quorum. You have 5 of 6 members present.
Council members, do I have a motion to excuse Councilwoman Holder?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Councilwoman Holder is excused from this meeting. Council, you have the draft agenda. Are there any proposed modifications to the agenda? Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The agenda is approved. Council, you've got the draft minutes of the August 25th, 2025 special meeting. Are there any corrections or modifications to those minutes? Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those are approved. We also have the draft September 2nd, 2025 regular meeting minutes. Are there any corrections or modifications to that? Do I have a motion to approve?
So,
All right. Pick
I'll
one
take
as
the
a
second.
second.
I got it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Those are approved. Okay, well, now we're going to move on to certificates and recognition. And we're going to start with a proclamation. All right, we're going to have a proclamation on Constitution Week. And I know we've got Sharon Powell from the Wrightsville Avery chapter of the DAR here with us. Sharon, would you please come join me? Is anyone else here from our DAR chapter? Just you? Oh, okay. All right. Well, wonderful. Thank you for being here. All right. This is proclamation number 2025, TAC 23, Constitution Week. Whereas the Constitution of the United States of America, the guardian of our liberties, embodies the principles of limited government in a republic dedicated to rule by law. And whereas September 17, 2025 marks the 230th anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention. Whereas it is fitting and proper to accord official recognition to this magnificent document and its memorable anniversary, and to the patriotic celebrations which will commemorate the occasion. Whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America designating September 17th through 23rd as Constitution Week. Now, therefore, I, Maureen Kopoloff, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Brevard, North Carolina, do hereby proclaim the week of September 17th through 23rd as Constitution Week in the city of Brevard, and ask our citizens to reaffirm the ideals the framers of the Constitution had in 1787 by vigilantly protecting the freedoms guaranteed to us through this guardian of our liberties, remembering that lost rights may never be regained. So it is my pleasure to present this to Sharon, to the Daughters of the American Revolution. Thank you. Thank you, Sharon. Would you like to say anything about the DAR or about Constitution Week?
Well, just on behalf of the DAR and Brevard, I would like to just encourage you and ask you to support and participate this coming week on the Constitution Week. There's a lot of activities and things going on. So just let people know about it and support us.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And I will just read and tell you a few of the things that are going on. I know the DAR and our Transylvania 250th Committee have partnered on a number of things. There is a Constitution display all September at the Veterans History Museum that I believe the DAR put together. So if you haven't been in our museum recently, please go by this month. For children, we have something very exciting. We have a patriotic pen pal, where you can go to the Veterans History Museum when it's open, Tuesday through Saturday, 10 to 3, and the kids can become a pen pal with one of our patriotic founders. We have going to have a student-led Constitution lecture on September 18th at Brevard College, and that's at 6:30 in the McLarty Goodson Hall. We, on Wednesday, September 17th, are having trivia night at Brevard Brewing. So you can go and you can test your trivia about the Revolution and Constitution and all of our patriotic founders. And then on the 17th, we are kicking the entire week off with a pledge and preamble morning. And I believe Chairman Chappell and I will be both there. We will be joining in unity to really sort of stress, the unique and wonderful document that is the founding part of our country. So we'll be, the chairman will be reading the preamble, which if you haven't read it recently, please read it. And, if you don't have a copy of the Constitution, you'll notice if you go in my office, there's one sitting right on the center of my desk. But they have wonderful little handheld copies, so it's so easy to just be able to refresh ourselves about what is in this foundational document that really set up our country with the values and the liberties and the freedoms that we all cherish and all. So this is just a wonderful week to remember why we are so fortunate and so thankful to all be Americans. So, thank you.
Can I say one more
Oh,
thing?
absolutely, come back up.
I should have thought of this. This week, this Wednesday at Brevard and Rosamond High Schools, or middle schools, we are presenting a video for each of the classes on the Constitution. We have also got a coloring book for the elementary schools, for the younger kids to do that. So we're working, trying to incorporate more knowledge. When I was in school, I probably didn't pay a whole lot of attention like I should have. But I've taken this course, and there is it's called Patriotic Academy, and he will go through all of the Constitution and explain things. So if you'd like to go online and look at that, it's really interesting. So thank you.
Well, thank you, and thank you for doing so much for our youth to make sure that they grow up understanding the Constitution. So thank you. So I hope to see you guys at some of these events this week. All right. Thank you. All right, and we will move into public comments. Public comment, the public is invited to speak during public comment at this time on any topic unless it is a public hearing item on this agenda. And we do have one public hearing on the closure of an unopened right-of-way. But I don't think anybody has chosen to speak on that, not on the public comment. Anyone who wants to speak must register with the city clerk, which is what this list is. When it is your turn, step to the podium in front of city council. State your name and address clearly. Limit comments to 3 minutes or less and avoid repetition. When you have 30 seconds left, I will give you a warning. Direct comments to the full council, not to an individual council member or to staff. All right, I will call people up in the order in which you signed. Our first speaker is Joellen Rischauer.
I think this will work. Here we are. My name is Joellen Risischer. My address is 25 Chipmunk Court. And I am co-chair of the Brevard Sustainability Council, the BSC. I am speaking on behalf of BSC's very hearty and enthusiastic support for the Adopt a Drain program through resolution that you'll be considering later in the meeting. My colleague here, Bob Agnew, will be speaking next, and I have to mention that he was the one who found the RiverLink resource that you have already discussed, or will be discussing later. And previous to that, he started a modified version of the program in the housing development where we both reside. And it's so easy to participate in Adopt a Drain. And it's actually very satisfying to clean and clear a drain from rainwater, for the rainwater to flow through. And I do believe that if we asked everyone in this city, everyone would agree that water quality is so very important to them and to their families. But you know, many of us have not yet made that connection between health, pollution, the economics, recreation, and that stream that flows down the street and into that drain. So BSC would like very much to be a partner with the city, with Adopt a Drain, and bring awareness and educate our fellow citizens on this important matter. And I thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Bob Agnew.
I'm Bob Agnew, live at 868 Stone Drive, and as Joellen mentioned, I'm a member of the Brevard Sustainability Council, a local volunteer group. And I too want to speak in support of the resolution of creating an Adopt a Drain program here in Brevard. As Joellen mentioned, I started a volunteer program in our home community, and then I became aware of the program that RiverLink ran in the city of Asheville, and investigated it, and it seemed like this would be an excellent thing for Brevard to do as well. And let me explain why. I spend a lot of time walking around the city of Brevard, and I regularly encounter storm drains that are fully or partially blocked. And this is the case all year long. It's especially bad in the fall, of course, as leaves come down, but also in the spring when trees drop a lot of debris. And it's bad even now. Just this morning, I took a walk along Stone Drive where I live, and there were several drains fully blocked, several others partially blocked, and I see the same in the other sections of the city. Now, the city does make some effort to clear these drains, but they simply don't have the workers or the money to clear all the storm drains in the city on a regular basis. During leaf season, for example, certain storm drains need to be cleared every few days. And these clogged drains are a problem for several reasons. They lead to localized flooding during heavy rains, and I might mention that Brevard has 6 stormwater hotspot flooding areas. And when the local area floods, the water often threatens homes and businesses. It's a hazard to drivers and pedestrians. It often leads to the erosion of soil and pavements, and it sometimes creates standing water, which attracts mosquitoes. Beyond that, the debris and the pollutants that clog the drains flow into the creeks that feed the French Broad River, and they can cause serious harm to the aquatic life in these waterways. But there is a solution, one that will not cost the city any money or staff time. In fact, I think it'll save the city some money and staff time, and that is to partner with RiverLink. RiverLink will seek outside funding to create and adopt a drain program in the city. They've had much success securing grants, including one for the Asheville Adopt a Drain program. They have a lot of expertise in stormwater management, and they will set up and manage the program. And if they need any local assistance, members of the Brevard Sustainability Council will supply it. So, for example, we'll help advertise the program and recruit volunteers. And
30 seconds.
in addition to its many benefits, the program will help educate local residents about the importance of properly managing stormwater and keeping our waterways healthy. So to me, this seems like an easy decision. The resolution will help address a serious problem and do so at no cost to the city. So thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Mary Ellen. Okay, Mary Ellen, I'm having trouble reading your last name here. Heber. Okay.
Stanley Heber. I live at 5460 Old Hendersonville Highway in Brevard. I've been here 22 years. I'm here because of our 8 remaining. I now know we have a fully staffed group of police officers, but I'm speaking for the 8 officers that came to the rescue of our community. Fortunately, they did not throw up their hands and walk out of their jobs under the conditions that were going on. These officers deserve recognition and a big thank you for keeping the city and police department available to the Brevard residents. Believe me, I challenge any of you to put on a uniform and walk out that door. And I'm going to tell you, you don't know whether you're going to come back again. My husband was a law enforcement officer for 20 years. How they put up the lives on the line, besides being underpaid and overworked. I'm shocked the city people, I'm not allowed to mention names, I understand, that are in front of me. None of them have given credit to these workers that stayed on the job. I personally want to express my sincere thanks to the officers who showed up for duty, because I deeply appreciate it, because if they weren't here, they could have walked off also, and we would have had no city protection. But not one person have I seen in the paper ever mention any appreciation for these young people or older people showing up to protect us while the others walked off. And I'm telling you, when you put on a uniform and you put on a badge, you're a real person, because most people don't have guts to do it. And the other thing that upsets me is expanding the drinking. I'm not against drinking. When we only had 2 officers to cover a drinking area, and you expanded it. What did you where's the respect to our officers? I think people who are elected to these positions should try to realize that they should take into consideration what their officers are put under and how hard their jobs are to enforce the law.
30 seconds.
They're not respected, they're looked down on, and they're spoken ill to, and I don't believe they deserve that. But hopefully someone in here will thank these young men for the job well done. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Rodney Locks.
Good afternoon, Council. My name's Rodney Locks. I live at 187 South Rice Street. I was hoping that you would explain the resolution for the continuous annexation for the city of Brevard. But since you didn't do that, now you have 3 things to explain to the community. That, before the public hearing, or after the public hearing. The second one is, when are you going to do the culvert? There's a sign that says, summer construction. Well, the summer's over, and the construction hasn't even started. And the third thing is, now, when are you going to repave Cassius Valley Road? Because people are sick and tired of going down Mills Avenue and then turning around and coming up to Main Street, going down to Oak Lawn, coming down Carver Street, going back up Cassius Valley Road. So you got another problem. Hopefully, you'll explain this to the people so that they can understand what you, council, are doing.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Paula Hartman-Stein.
Good evening, all. I'm Paula Hartman-Stein, the volunteer coordinator of the age-friendly livable community of Brevard. I live at 249 Pine Mountain Trail. I'm here today to ask you to consider signing up for and actually attending a particular workshop at the community event on September 27th that will commemorate the survival of all of us from the hurricane last year. This workshop that I'm speaking of is one that is part of the Community Challenge Grant that AARP gave to the city of Brevard, okay? It would mean a lot. It would mean a lot to me personally, as well as to the initiatives, if you showed up. The topic is weather preparedness, and unless you've had training from Red Cross or another type of organization like that, then you already know all this, unless you're interested also in the emotional recovery, because I'm going to cover both things. So our topic, the title of it is Ready and Resilient. I'll be showing a video that will hopefully be done by then. It will be done. As well as to talk about things that you may not know about, such as looking up climatecheck.com. You all know about that? And you can type in your address, and you can see what your risk factors are for fire, flood, wind, heat, all kinds of things, and mitigation factors. So I never knew any of this. My husband and I were totally clueless on September 26th and 27th, and perhaps many people were like us. So please come. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Dave Powell.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, City Council and staff. My name is Doug Powell. I live at 170 Oakdale Road. And I'd like to thank you for the council's proclamation on the Constitution. And as you may have guessed, I'd like to share a few thoughts on the Constitution and the First Amendment. As many of you know, there were 55 framers of the Constitution, but only 39 men signed this sacred document. Some of the 16 who didn't sign it already left the convention, but there were others, namely George Mason, who refused to sign because the Constitution did not abolish slavery and it didn't contain a Bill of Rights. Many of the 39 did sign with the hope and promise that both objections would eventually be rectified. This is why George Mason is called the father of the Bill of Rights. The first 10 amendments to the Constitution made up the Bill of Rights, and obviously begins with our most pronounced God-given freedoms in the First Amendment. If you aren't familiar with every one of the 5 freedoms contained in the First Amendment, you aren't alone. Some surveys show that over 90% of Americans can't even name 2 of these basic 5 fundamental freedoms. So I'd encourage everyone in this meeting and online to review all 5 of them before Wednesday, Constitution Day. The first 2 freedoms in the First Amendment are the freedom of religion and the freedom of speech, where we codify both our religious and civil rights. I'd like to commend civic meetings like this one in Transylvania County, as they often begin with an invocation or prayer from Dr. White tonight, and then follow with public comment like I'm doing right now. Both of these God-ordained freedoms of religion and speech are protected by the Constitution, in order that controversial and sometimes off-putting subjects and topics are respectfully and peacefully debated, discussed, and processed, whether agreement is ever reached. That's one of the fundamental tenets in this constitutional republic of ours. And that's why a well-known liberal principle is, I disapprove of what you say, but I will defend to the death your right to say it. Growing up, I learned another expression: sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. For a kid, that was an easy way to understand the vital importance of exercising our First Amendment rights in the public square, without fear of retribution or physical harm from our fellow citizens or from our government. Without being able to debate hard and messy issues freely,
30
the
seconds.
alternative can often lead to violence. France, for instance, who did not codify a Bill of Rights into their original constitution, solved their political differences with 30,000 citizens beheaded with the guillotine when they had disagreed with the mob. No matter where someone stands politically or religiously, it's impossible to assassinate an idea or point of view. And the rule of law and the biblical principles ingrained into our Constitution protects each individual American citizen's right
Time.
freely. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Powell. All right, our next speaker. All right, I'm doing my best to try and read it. I think it says Jimmy Veal.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So sorry, I was kind of, my heart was beating pretty fast when I walked in. Sorry for being late, thanks for waiting for me. Jimmy Veal, 187 Pinnacle Road, thank you very much for the opportunity to be here again. Did the clock start already?
Yes.
So, can I get 6 minutes and I promise to never come back again? Oh, good. So I would yield the floor to any council person that would make a motion that you guys direct Mr. Ray and his planning staff to work with me and the other plaintiffs in the pending lawsuit to resolve this issue, but it has to be duly seconded, and it has to happen in a minute. No takers.
I'll just warn you that that would be inappropriate at this time.
Whoa. Interesting how the law works. So I have an email here. I talked to Mr. Ray the other day and mentioned that Mr. McKellar had told my attorney that he was going to direct the planning department to come up with a solution or look at possible solutions, but Mr. Ray never heard about it. He also said that I wasn't open to any of his suggestions because there haven't been any. I also met with Mr. Morrow, and he gave me the impression that he was going to work together and try to solve this problem, acknowledging that there is a problem, but I haven't heard back from him either. I was going to say, does anybody believe there's a problem, except this email from Mr. McKellar, I believe, constitutes an awareness that there is a problem. Otherwise, why would we want to work towards a solution? Interesting kind of conundrum, I would say. So, I'm really honored and privileged to have acquired property up at the end of Pinnacle Road, also known as the Community Pinnacle. It's got a fabulous, how you doing, Wilson? It's got a fabulous history that everybody needs to know more about. At the last meeting, I gave you guys all this book, A Walk Around the World, which has references to Pinnacle a number of times. Did anybody look at it? That's my whole thing. I come and I ask these questions. I told you this, and then I go like, did anybody do anything? And I get these stares that are really troubling to me. But one of my favorite passages in the book is, Pinnacle was a knitted family, close-knitted family that were all related sisters.
30 seconds.
I come from a matriarchal family, and it really is inspiring to have these women folks. But I'm going to skip right ahead to minutes from the August 19, 2024 meeting, where Mr. Baker said, I am proud to be in this space. So much work went into creating this space, talking about the Jenkins Community Center. It's a great representation of the city of Brevard, but it's also a very symbolic building, and I think it's symbolic for us to be here and celebrate the importance of history.
Time, Mr. Veal.
Is one of a collection of communities,
Time.
not just.
Time, Mr. Veal, you're out of time.
But I do
Thank
have
you,
to-
that,
one
I'm
last
sorry,
thing.
nope, I am sorry, you are out of time.
I'm going to submit this to Mr. McKellar as a notice of intent to sue. Wrong copy, so sorry.
All right, our next speaker is Mr. Harvey Sankey.
Why don't you tell Elliot to send it to me
It's
directly?
coming in the mail. Have a nice night.
People use email these days.
My name's Harvey Sankey. I live at 51 Lake House Trail. Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. I want to, first of all, congratulate the Public Works Committee for the fine work that they're doing on the wastewater treatment plant. Mr. Morrow, Mr. Wise, and Owen Carson, you're doing a great job putting this project together. I also want to thank the Public Works Department for working on this project. Also, you're doing a great job, and I appreciate the work you're putting in. I know you have a lot of work and projects on your mind, but you're doing a great job on this. And also David Todd for directing this project. You're doing a fine job. And a tip of the hat to my Wilson Hooper for putting all the numbers together. However, from a taxpayer standpoint, it looks like it's going to cost $113 million to $143 million to do this wastewater treatment project. I heard in the past that it was discussed that it might cost around $65 million. Now it's up to 100 and maybe double that price. I don't know where that 65 million came from, but you could correct me if I'm wrong on that. But the fact is, this should have been done 2-3 years ago. We should have started on this 2 to 3 years ago, and if we had, this price wouldn't be as high as it is right now. We're assuming that the city is going to be granted an SRF loan of $7.5 million, and it would be subject to a 2% loan fee of $150,000. Also, if we do the $625K loan, there'll be an annual loan payment of $31,250. Where's this money coming from? I indicated that there might be a shortfall here between the total project and any grants that we might get. I was told that that shortfall will not be paid for by property.
30 seconds.
And I'd like to be, Mr. Wilson, I'd like you, if you have a problem with that, correct me on that. But in any case, I want to know where the fiscal money is coming from, and in what years will it be appropriated. Thank you.
All right, that is everybody who signed up for public comment. And we will move on now to our special presentation on the wastewater treatment plant funding strategy. And I believe our Assistant City Manager, David Todd, is going to open this.
Mayor, I'm going to give some introductory comments before we throw to David and our guest Kyle from KCI. This probably could have gone on new business because we will be asking you all to take one action tonight, and David will explain what that is here momentarily. But we moved it up to the top of the agenda to reflect its importance. You know, this has been a city priority for several years now. It's going to need to be a priority for several more years to come. It's going to require a significant lift on behalf of our organization to make this project work because, as Harvey said, it's going to be quite expensive. The largest single infrastructure project that the city's ever done. And so we'll have to orient ourselves so that we can focus all our organizational resources on this project for several more years. And so tonight, we're going to ask you to approve a loan application with the state revolving fund to fill the gap on phase 1. So if you'll recall, this was a 3-phased approach. The council has approved our 3-phased approach. We're going to try to eat the elephant one bite at a time by doing the smallest phase first, and that's phase 1. We have most of that money available from our gift from the state from 2023, but we need some more, and so we're going to ask you to let us apply for state revolving fund dollars. But then we're also going to talk a little bit about what phases 2 and 3 are going to look like. And of course, they're longer term, and this is just a sort of strategy. We're not asking you for any action on phases 2 and 3 funding tonight. But because it's significant, we wanted to make this introductory presentation. And I just wanted to let you know that this will be on our radar for years to come. David.
Thank you, Wilson. Mayor, council members, good evening. I think you'll get to hear from me more than once tonight. Before you, you have a resolution seeking the authority for staff to apply for a loan or grant to fund the wastewater plant upgrade for phase 1 and potentially the start of design for phase 2. So I'll discuss a little bit more what that is, but we are hopeful that you will approve this so that we can move forward. The grant submission deadline is November 1. So we are somewhat pressed on time to get everything put together and submitted to do that. As Wilson mentioned, we have an we initially requested $352,000 to do the preliminary engineering report. We added to that the $878,000 for a total of $1,230,000. The first amendment, or the $878,000, has been used to further refine cost estimates and the design for the project for phase 1 of the project, and to put together preliminary engineering reports for phases 2 and 3. So it is very difficult when you are speaking conceptually to develop cost estimates. And as things are further refined and equipment is identified and we were able to look at the footprint of our site and fully determine what we were and were not able to do, that has really allowed us to get good or closer solid numbers. And what we have found from that is that the phase one portion of the project, which does three primary things. It upgrades our screens, which remove the kind of plastics, et cetera, that come through our wastewater. It enhances and replaces our grit removal system, our grit chamber, which takes the sands and stones and heavy fines out of the wastewater. And it adds what we call a primary filter, which will further do what both of those first two items haven't done and take some other solids out of the stream so that our plant can operate more efficiently. So we currently have a plant, just as a reminder, designed for 2.5 million gallons per day, but it is effectively running at 1.6 million gallons per day. By completing the phase one upgrade, we will get a true capacity out of the plant of 2.5 million gallons per day. Phase two will begin to change the biological portion of our wastewater plant and will move us to a 3 million gallon per day plant. And phase four will further increase that capacity. Phase three will further increase that capacity and take us to 4 million gallons per day. So we have, going back to the funding, we did receive a state appropriation of $12,800,000. And of that, we have used $1.23 million for the first phases of engineering design, which has left us with a shortfall of roughly $4 million to continue with phase one. So I'm going to hand this off to Kyle now and let him talk through that in a little more detail, as well as funding strategies for phases 2 and 3. And then we'd like to open the floor up for any questions and hopefully move forward with the resolution. Kyle?
Good evening. Good evening, Mayor, council members. My name is Kyle Seaman. I work with KCI. I'm project manager for the wastewater treatment plant upgrades. We've met several times before and discussed various funding opportunities. So what we have done now is we've narrowed it down to two main ones we want to pursue as soon as possible, with the main focus being approval to go after these two funding sources and approval of the resolution. The first one, which would cover the shortfall for the phase one construction, would be through the NCDEQ SRF Helene program. What that is understanding the need for repairs following the storm last year. DEQ has allocated approximately $253 million in this funding cycle for the Helene funding project. One of the reasons why we identified this as one of the better sources to go after is applicants like the city of Brevard would be eligible for up to $5 million in 100% principal forgiveness, which would be good for the city because then it doesn't increase the debt. It does come with a loan fee, as mentioned earlier, and so what happens after that $5 million would essentially be 75% principal forgiveness with 25% loan. The current cap on all projects, since this is a rolling cycle, is $5 million with the anticipation that there's going to be a lot of applications submitted for. That being said, once the funding cycles are done in April of next year, they'll reevaluate all the projects that were funded and capped at the $5 million with the potential for additional funding being distributed if any is available. So that would be for the shortfall for construction of phase one. Then when we get to the design of phase two, what we've discussed previously is continue to keep everything moving forward. Essentially find the shortfall for phase one and then look for avenues for design of phase two. What this allows us to do is, like David mentioned, further refine those numbers so we know what exactly we need to go for phase two. What are anticipating going for or seeking approval for is going through the FEMA HMGP Advanced Assistance funding. What that allows them to do is essentially, again, it would be another avenue, which we've already started discussions and seeking approval to actually go forward with going after that funding, was it can only be used for design activities. That's why we think it's a better fit for phase two. That's why we've kind of focused on Helene for Phase 1 and HMGP Advanced Assistance for Phase 2 design. What the second avenue would be if we are unsuccessful with Phase 1 is potentially going after Phase 2 with the Helene funding. Because what we would do there is we will know the results of the first application that we hope to go after in November 3rd in December, and that would allow us to go after the funding for Phase 2 if we're unsuccessful with going after Phase 1. Got 2 more slides here. This is something we can provide, I believe is in the agenda packet tonight, but this is generally all the funding cycles for all the avenues we've discussed previously with staff members, the Public Works and Utilities Committee. But these are kind of just outlining the deadlines and when we anticipate knowing if we are successful with our funding applications. With that said, I'm going to have one more slide. The next steps, if approved by the council, would be essentially approving the resolution. What that does is it designates an authorized representative, sign off on the funding application, and that will allow us to go ahead with submitting the funding application, working with the city staff to document everything and prepare that application. That, back to you.
So one of the things that you will see is our intent would be to seek a loan/grant for $7.5 million. But we also believe, based on kind of what we're hearing through the grapevine and some of the things they're saying, that it's likely we would be capped at $5 million. But the $5 million will complete the construction of Phase 1. It would just not allow us to start engineering on Phase 2. So if we were successful and got the $7.5 million, then we would already have a source to start engineering on Phase 2. If we're not, we would seek one of the other avenues that Kyle has mentioned. If we only get the $5 million, that would be entirely principal forgiveness. So it, in essence, would be a grant, and the only fee to the city would be the $150,000. And with that, any questions by anyone?
All right, council, they are asking for a action tonight. Do I have a motion to approve the resolution authorizing the loan grant assistance for the wastewater treatment plant upgrade Phase 1?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, we will open it up for discussion. Mr. Morrow?
It's wonderful to be at this point. And David and Kyle, thank you for making a presentation. It makes a lot of sense. And we'll keep our fingers crossed that $5 million, and anytime you get money, it's a real pat on the back for the work that you do.
Mr. Wise?
Yeah, Wilson's not kidding when he says we have to eat this thing, this elephant one little bite at a time, and this is a great way to start this process. I really want to thank KCI. They've done a lot of research and out-of-the-box thinking to help us in our little community. I'm sure this isn't the biggest project they have, but they treat it like it's the only project they have, so I really appreciate that, and David, also appreciate all your work. These guys, come on. They know they're awesome. I will say there is a long road ahead of us, so I think that this is a great step. We just have to stay vigilant and realize this is one bite, but it's a great first step.
Mr. Daniel?
Yeah, I appreciate the effort that's being made to make sure this project keeps moving forward. I would like to say that for me personally, with my limited knowledge, I mean, I do have some knowledge of how construction works, but not on this scale. But the primary filtration system, I feel like, is vitally important for Phase 1. I know there's some discussion of maybe not putting that in, but I just getting our system up to full capacity that it should be, also knowing how things change once you get something finished and start on another phase, how far down the road is that going to be? So for me, that needs to be part of Phase 1, and whatever we have to do, I think it would be well worthwhile for the city to go ahead and make sure that part happens.
Mr. Baker?
Yeah, and I'll pick up right there. I mean, I know is there still a question about whether the primary filter will be included in phase one or not, or?
With the additional $5 million funding, that ensures that we will get the primary filter.
Okay.
There's another aspect of this too. There are kind of multiple ways you can build the plant. We can buy pre-built, what's called skid-built equipment. We would go buy a piece of equipment, it basically gets delivered on a tractor trailer, you slide it off, you hook pipes up to it.
Right.
Another way is to take some of that pre-engineered stuff and do some pseudo field build with prefabricated components. And then the third way is to build everything in the field, concrete structures. A lot of those first options are metal structures. The first options have a 25 to maybe 50-year life. The third option is more of a 50 to 100-year life. So with the $13 million, we believe what we are securing is the ability to build a 100-year, 50 to 100-year plant with the pretreatment filter.
Okay, great. Yeah, and I agree with Gary that I think including that primary filter in the first phase, if at all possible, is critical, just to get, the idea of being able to add capacity right off the bat in phase one, I think is pretty important to me, particularly because, the economic development impact of the wastewater treatment plant really can't be overstated, and we've got to have the capacity in order to be able to have those discussions with, light manufacturing that might want to move here. And so that additional, capacity with the primary filter, I think, allows us to do that very quickly. And I'll just say, throughout this process, we trust our, fellow council members who are on the Public Works Committee to really handle the nitty-gritty of this, and that's how it works. But even from, what we've seen at the council level, it's pretty clear that the team we have working on it, both the staff and the KCI have really been professional and also creative throughout the whole thing, which, you find an engineer that can be creative, that's a good thing. So, appreciate all the work that's gone into it so far, and looking forward to hearing good news.
Yeah, and I'd add pragmatic, deliberate to that, and creativity.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
All right, we will move on to our public hearing. Our public hearing is the proposed closure of the unopened right-of-way off of West Jordan Street. And it looks like Mr. Ray from our planning department.
Put the minus button up there.
So they are the same.
Right there in the middle of the page.
Okay, thank you for your patience. Hendersonville Pediatrics is remodeling the former PNC Bank at 90 South Caldwell Street. Their property spans 3 parcels divided by a 25-foot wide unopened city right-of-way discovered during development review. The right-of-way lies within their parking lot, which adjoins the city's Jordan Street public lot. Hendersonville Pediatrics has requested closure of the right-of-way, and staff has proposed a land swap of equal size to add a new parking row and landscaping to the city's Jordan Street lot. Staff in Hendersonville Pediatrics are negotiating terms, including a city maintenance easement for existing utilities and unopened right-of-way access easement requested by the property owner. The proposal arrived late last week, so negotiations and legal review are still underway, with an agreement expected for City Council's consideration in October. On October 18th, City Council adopted a resolution of intent to close the right-of-way and directed staff to advertise the required public hearing. Notices were published, mailed, and posted. Tonight's hearing is to determine whether the closure would harm the public interest or private property rights. Staff recommends no final action this evening to allow completion of the negotiations between the city and Hendersonville Pediatrics and the preparation of final plat documents. You have preliminary plat documents in front of you tonight. Happy to answer any questions you have about any of the material in your packet.
All right, well, we will at this point officially move and open the public hearing. Do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, the public hearing is officially open, and the public is asked to adhere to the following guidelines, which was to register with the city clerk by printing name and address. No one signed up to actually speak at the public hearing, so I won't go through all the rest of the rules of speaking. But at this point, I just need a motion to officially close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The public hearing is now closed. So at this point, we'll open it up for questions from council for Mr. Ray. And we'll start with Mr. Baker.
So we discussed this earlier, and so as it's currently, I wish we could show the Google Maps of this area, but as it's currently, the lines are drawn, there's 13 parking spots, which we would gain. Is that correct?
It would probably gain, best we can tell, about 10 parking spaces.
Okay, 10,
Right.
okay. But that's without the potential reworking of the larger lot.
That's
correct, which this added space might actually give us a chance to rework the lot and squeeze a
hope
few
so.
more in. Okay,
And close one entrance off of Jordan Street and potentially circulate,
right,
have a better circulation pattern.
great.
there. But without that, we would gain probably about 10 parking spaces, and that's without further partnership.
Right, great. Yeah, seems like great news.
Mr. Daniel?
Well, I think it is great news, and I think it's going to be a great addition to our downtown facilities when it's finished and complete. I do have a question. This resolution, I don't think, it says it's a resolution of intent that we're going to do this. And it also has no conditions that it is a trade with the pediatrics listed in this.
The resolution in the package is where we resolved at the last meeting to put this on to consider the closure.
Yeah.
That's the one that's already been
Right,
passed.
the next document is.
The next
order.
document will
That's
be.
coming.
That's the next document. Yeah, that'll be
Okay.
what you see in October.
And that's the one that's going to say, we're doing this and we're getting this.
That's correct.
Okay, because that's what I was.
That's the much more important one.
Well,
Yes.
if I can clarify, you have a draft order that's in your packet. That's what actually closes the alleyway, which you're not voting on tonight. Potentially you'll vote on it in October. But what staff will do is we'll negotiate some terms with Hendersonville Pediatrics, and we'll bring those terms to city council to make sure that they're acceptable, but it won't state those terms in the order.
No,
Those
yeah, I
right
understand.
away. Right. But we will bring written terms to.
So we will not close this right away until we have this agreement in hand.
That's correct.
That's the main thing I'm asking. So, that's all I have.
Mr. Morrow?
Thank you, Paul. It's a win for everybody.
Mr. Wise?
Yeah, I think this would make us 11 or 12 spots in the positive after our public safety enhancements at downtown. Positive, additional, over top. Thank you for all your hard work in making this. I just want to emphasize additional, not making up lost, additional.
All right, if there are no further questions from council, we will move on to our next item. All right. The next item is the consent and information agenda. The following items are on consent. 1, tax settlement report of August 2025. 2, resolution fixing a date of a public hearing for contiguous annexation, City of Brevard, Cashers Valley Road. 3, City Council Public Works and Utilities Committee minutes, July 2nd, 2025. 4, City Council Housing Committee minutes, July 8th, 2025. 5, City Council Downtown Master Plan Committee notes, July 9th, 2025. 6, City Council Parks, Trails, and Recreation Committee minutes, July 16th, 2025. 7, City Council Finance, Human Resources, and Citizen Appointment minutes, July 28th, 2025. 8, City Council Public Safety Committee meeting minutes of July 28th, 2025. And 9, correspondence, the ABC Board meeting minutes of July 24th, 2025. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
It's approved. Moving on to new business. The first item on new business is the approval of the Stormwater Master Plan proposal. And, Mr. Todd is back up there already. Go ahead, David.
Thank you. So just a quick recap of where we are in this process. We made a decision to move forward with the Stormwater Master Plan and to hire a designer. We advertised, we interviewed, we brought forward 3 designers. The top selection of those designers was McAdams. We received a resolution from council to move forward in negotiating with McAdams, and we have begun that process. So the Public Works and Utility Committee, with the exclusion of Owen Carson, who is a member of a firm who is submitting on the proposal, they would be partnering with McAdams. He recused himself from the discussions. So we started, McAdams brought forward originally a proposal very full in nature and scope to the Public Works Committee and suggested that we do a due diligence, but they didn't give us any indication of price. And we went back and forth with that and struggled a bit, frankly. So we asked them to go ahead and give us some numbers on that full scope of work. And when they did that, we came back with a number in excess of about $600,000, which I'll speak to the budget here in just a minute. But that number exceeded what we wanted to move forward with. So in further discussions with McAdams, we decided to move forward with a due diligence effort, which cost us about $15,000. They sent one of their folks out here. They spent a lot of time with Wesley walking around the city, looking specifically at areas of concern and talking through things, looking at the information we had on hand, which some of what we had on hand is a, excuse me, an asset inventory that Land to Sky has helped us with. It's not complete, and it's only city-owned structures, but they were able to review that and look closely at that. With that, they came back to the table and proposed a somewhat reduced scope of work that still largely met what we were after and what we were looking for, which in particular includes a very close look at 10 hot spots that we have identified across the city. Looking at that and looking at it closely, the Public Works Committee asked them to come back to us with a revised price for that revised scope of work. But we also talked a little bit about budget. So in short, we collect approximately, assuming everything is met, about $200,000 annually in stormwater collection fees. And what we wanted to be sure is that this development of this master plan did not exceed that number. But as you can imagine, we started initially at over $600,000. was very difficult to fit all of this scope of work into one phase of work for $200,000. So we broke it up into a couple of phases that McAdams has brought a proposal back to us that now would allow us to do a phase one in this current fiscal year for about $200,000 and a phase two in the coming fiscal year for roughly $200,000. And their total proposal, as the Public Works Committee is recommending, is $435,000 plus the 15 we already spent on due diligence, so about $450,000. And the way we would fund that, and Wilson will have to help me say these words exactly right, but roughly $200,000 in stormwater collection fees year one, $200,000 stormwater collection fees year two, and then $50,000 basically from cash on hand, or I guess our general fund is a better way of wording that. So we do have a way to cover that total cost if we were to choose to move forward. In essence, they've really broken the plan into 3 phases, not 2. So phase one identifies what we need to do in the city, where the hotspots areas are, what our infrastructure is, what it looks like. Phase two comes back and says, what does it cost and take for us to fix this? They would identify some preliminary cost estimates and how could we fund it. They would identify grants that would give us a means to go forward, a method to go forward. And then phase two is a piece we're not talking about yet, which would be how do we actually implement this work? And at that point, we would seek further grants to move us to completion of some, if not all, of that work. So again, what's in front of you is a resolution today asking you to allow us to make McAdams the engineer of record, which means we would award them this contract or design agreement for $435,000 broken into the 2 phases like that and spread over 2 fiscal years. I'm glad to give you any more detail on any of that you'd like. You do have a copy of their proposal in your packet tonight. It's in depth. It's a lot of pages, but it was a lot of information.
All right, it looks like you are looking for actual vote on the resolution tonight. The resolution declaring McAdams as engineer of record for the 2025 Stormwater Master Plan and authorizing acceptance of their proposal. Do I have a motion to approve that?
So move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. And we'll open discussion. Mr. Morrow.
I think one of the things that we learned, and I will give David credit for sort of spearheading this, but obviously it was a huge task when we tried to break it down. The 2007 plan was a little bit of a springboard, but because we were doing this asset inventory at the same time, it was also a time to get the staff involved. So what I think really got us through here, and I pressed David on this in the committee, that it was really the relationship that the team, the staff, got with our consultants to put this whole thing together. So I want to, again, David, commend you and how you pulled it all together, because it almost looked like too big to chew on initially. And we got, by priority, everything we asked for in spades. And the fact that they were willing to do some of the work in this fiscal year and then push it off to the next fiscal year, reflects the sort of teamwork that we're able to make it work. Make it work. Let's get something done. Let's move on. So I just want to commend you, David, and the team for, because they picked up some of the work too.
Absolutely.
I mean, we were able to.
Definitely all of us. Wesley did a tremendous amount of, Wesley did all the field work, so.
Yeah, and took on some of the responsibility that we were going to pay somebody else to do. So it made it, bring the money, the numbers down.
Mr. Wise?
Yeah, I'd like to echo what Max said. If it wasn't for our Public Works Department, I know Wesley loves when we talk about him, this would not have happened. They agreed to do a lot of field work and pick up extra work to make this happen and get it within our budget. And they realize how important stormwater is, getting a plan together, because that's something we really do lack in this community. And David, again, kudos to you. I know you love it when people call you out as well, but this is a lot of back and forth to make this happen, kind of behind the scenes. And I'm really excited we have a plan for stormwater now.
Mr. Baker?
Yeah, I think this is great. There's a little bit of a theme developing in this meeting with this, like, sort of our relationship to water, and not just the water that falls from the sky, which is what we're talking about now, but, how we treat our wastewater in order to eventually return it back to the river. So these are really important things, and especially coming up on a year after, I think probably more water fell during Helene and honestly, just before Helene, than ever before. So it's our relationship to water, and it already rains a lot in Brevard, but it seems like it's raining more and more with the size of these storms. So we've got to be on top of it, and I think it's great that we've already established the funding mechanism that we're talking about here. I do have a question. In terms of phase 2, you mentioned that they would help prioritize and also identify potential grants and other funding sources. Does that include our own already established stormwater fee and how that is currently constructed, but also, potential changes that we would make to that?
Yes, sir. So there's actually, phase 1 will review our ordinance as well. So we'll take a close look at what we are asking and requiring folks to do, because that as well has the potential to impact our stormwater fees. And then in phase 2, they will review our stormwater fee collection system methods, how we're using that.
And would that also include, so we sort of got that thing started, but I think with this work, it could definitely, we could kind of take it to the next level in terms of like even potentially offering potential breaks on the fee for new development or existing development if they mitigate some of the stormwater that they deal with on their individual property.
Our fee structure is very simple.
Yeah.
And so they'll teach us how to come up with a more sophisticated way of collecting our fees.
Great, thank you.
Mr. Daniel?
Yeah, on the how we're going to pay for this, the 50,000, so I understand, it's actually, this is more of a guarantee that we were going to have the money, that it comes out of the general fund. Because next year, we could potentially allocate money to pay for this. Is that not correct?
Anytime you want to supplement a enterprise fund with general fund dollars, you are able to do that. And so, although our intention was to fund this entirely with collections from stormwater fees, the committee felt that the scope was just too important to sacrifice, and that finding some money from the general fund was worth it.
Yeah. And then I have another question from Mac's comments, that how much work going forward will our Public Works have to do with this project? Additional work?
Honestly, it is a fair amount. It is going to be a combined effort, very much so. The AIA work we've done on water and sewer, our Public Works folks have the knowledge of our systems. And without that knowledge to share with the designers, it's very difficult to move forward. So we'll need their help. This package does include some camera inspection and some traffic control, but there may be times that we choose to supplement that to let our dollars go further. So we may actually do some cameraing work. We may provide some traffic control, kind of depending on, how, if we can fit it in our workload at the time, or to push the scope a little further maybe than what they're covering. But and it'll be a substantial amount of my time as well. So it's not just hand it off and walk away. It will be a team effort, which to Councilman Morrow's comments, it will take all of us working together to make this happen.
Well, the reason I asked that question is, I know that Wesley asked for two employees that we were not able to fund this year. It sounds like he needs those two employees. I think we need to start figuring this out. So, because I think to make this happen, we're gonna have the manpower on our staff to do
I
it.
would second that motion if I could, sir.
That's all I have to say at the moment. Thanks.
All right, any other comments or questions? All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Our next item is the Adopt a Storm Drain Program. And once again, Mr. Todd is up at the podium.
Thank you. So the idea before you, the resolution before you right now, was generated from an idea out of the Brevard Sustainability Council, which our mayor is a member of or sits on. Mayor, are you a member of the Sustainability Council?
I am the city liaison
Thank
to
you.
them.
Thank you for that clarification. So the mayor became aware of this topic, and with Councilman Morrow, I believe he was able to participate in some of the conversations and learn more about the effort. But in short, this, what we are proposing is to mimic a program that the city of Asheville does now called the Adopt a Storm Drain Program, which is I'm going to, in quotations and air quotes, call it a kind of a no-cost measure to the city. RiverLink, which is a nonprofit organization in Asheville, is very committed to the French Broad River. They've worked on our sections of the French Broad River and developing the French Broad River Trail. Stormwater is a very important item to them, and that's why they've created this measure. And they've offered to help us with this, and it works very much as the gentleman in our earlier public comments described. Folks would elect to adopt a storm drain and then would be responsible for cleaning it and report when they have cleaned it. And the hope is that that reduces the labor effort from our public works group to have to go out and maintain storm drains. There would be some definite initial investment of time and effort on our folks. We would provide the GIS maps when we have them finalized from land to sky that identify where the infrastructure is. We would work with both RiverLink and the Brevard Sustainability Council to identify where we would like this work to occur. And then there may be some naming opportunities where we're installing plaques or something like that on some of the grates. I've seen that done in some areas. If that happens, that again might require Public Works resources to do that. But a lot of those cost and labor efforts are upfront cost. Now, one of the things that I personally think is very important about this effort, if we take it on, is a lot of folks might want to adopt the storm drain outside their house. And that's great. At least somebody's paying attention. But that may not be the storm drain that we really need adopted that helps us with the labor effort from Public Works. So if we can, in a combined effort, identify, hey, these 50 storm drains really need some attention, and have those be our priority to be adopted, that really does make this a double benefit type of program. But in either case, having somebody responsible for a storm drain and watching over it, I believe is beneficial to us. So that's what's in front of you now. I'm glad to answer any questions that I can about it.
All right. We have a resolution authorizing a partnership with RiverLink for the Adopt a Storm Drain Program. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, we'll open it up for discussion. Mr. Wise?
Yeah, this is I worked with RiverLink in Nashville, and they're a great organization. I love this. I just love that we have a citizens task force out there doing stuff and coming back and saying, hey, we see a problem. Can we work with you to fix it? That's how it should work. So thank you for that. And having RiverLink as the backer of this instills a lot of confidence because they have a long history of work in Asheville. So it's exciting.
Mr. Morrow?
Yeah, and I think it's wonderful to work with both RiverLink, like you say, who will do the training and guide us will guide the Sustainability Committee forward. So we get to work with two different organizations, and hopefully it allows us also to involve citizens who want to get involved in something that deals with stewardship and keeping our river clean.
Mr. Daniel?
Yeah, I think this is a great idea. I think that it's going to provide a great service that's obviously needed. I would like to state again that, as we've just discussed, that our Public Works Department is overextended and about to be even more so. I ask that we monitor small projects that add small bits of work here and there and there and there, that they monitor those and we can keep those under control. This seems to be very manageable, and it seems like it's going to help Public Works. I think we just need to be very aware of our workload when we take on projects, even small projects. A lot of small projects turn into something big. So that's my comment.
Mr. Baker?
Yeah, I think, given the relationship with Riverlink that this has included in it, and it sounds like there will be some maybe upfront work, but I think in the long run, it sounds like a net positive in terms of the time from our staff. And I'll say that we already have an established Adopt a Green Space program that the Parks, Trails, and Rec Committee sort of oversees, and so this reminds me a lot of that, and it's great to see sort of citizens get involved. And with that in mind, I will say, I just turned 39 years old, so I'm too old to be on TikTok. But I have to be on TikTok sometimes for work because I'm in marketing. And I do know that there are several well-established TikTok accounts that simply show a drain being cleared. And millions and millions of views. So you don't have to go on TikTok. You can now do this in real life without ever downloading the TikTok app. So I think it's great.
All right. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
All right, we are moving on to our next item, which is the award contract for the parking study.
The screen current.
Going on the left there. Keep going, two more down.
All right. The planning department issued a request for qualifications in May for a downtown parking study and received 9 responses. An ad hoc group consisting of the Downtown Master Plan Committee Chair, Gary Daniel, Member Parker Platt, Assistant Planning Director Aaron Bland, and myself, the Planning Director, reviewed submissions and interviewed 2 finalists, Benchmark Planning and JMT Engineering and Planning. Benchmark, an urban design and comprehensive planning firm based in Charlotte, was selected as the top choice for its small-town experience, strong presentation skills, and emphasis on cycling in downtown Brevard. JM Teague from Waynesville is highly qualified, but focuses more on traffic engineering than planning and design. The Downtown Master Plan Committee endorsed Benchmark at its September 10th meeting. Updating the 2013 downtown parking study, it is a stated action item in the Brevard's comprehensive land use plan. The project is budgeted at up to $50,000. Staff requests council's approval of the attached resolution authorizing contract negotiations. And if awarded, we expect this study to take between 6 and 8 months to complete.
All right, council, do I have a motion to approve the resolution authorizing contract negotiations to conduct a downtown parking study?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second?
We'll open it for discussion. Mr. Daniel?
Downtown Master Plan Committee, as well as the ad hoc committee, talked about this. I think there is some urgency. We need to begin this study before, leaf season gets here, and when we have a high density of people in the community. And also, I think for some of the planning decisions that we have to make going forward in the downtown, a study, I think, is essential. So the two companies that are represented here are both, as Paul said, both highly capable, and one just kind of had a little bit more flavor of the city of Brevard to it. So that's all I have to say.
Mr. Baker?
Sure. Just a couple of questions. I wonder if you could talk a little bit more about some of the other cities that Benchmark has worked in, and in particular the focus on cycling, and maybe what work they've had in other cities on that.
Well, the Assistant Planning Director, Aaron Bland, is the one who interviewed them and checked references. I'm not really sure, maybe Councilman Daniel knows some of the other cities that Benchmark worked in. I'm sorry Aaron couldn't be here today.
Was it Davidson? I think Davidson was one of the cities that they did, and there were some smaller, Western North Carolina, a couple of them. I can't recall the names. I'm right offhand.
Okay.
Sorry.
But Benchmark volunteered that cycling was very important to our community and would factor that in to their parking study. And that struck us as being, very appropriate for Brevard.
And
I would add that in their literature that they addressed it fairly thoroughly in their presentation. And actually, I think J&T did as well, but in their interview with the ad hoc committee, J&T did not mention cycling until they were asked about it. So.
And in terms of the seasonality of when they're doing the study, Councilman Daniel already mentioned that, but so are they going to be relying on leaf season in terms of the highest volume that the downtown will see?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
They would.
And is there any thought to, I know the next summer will be towards the end of their study period potentially, but I feel like capturing some of that, maybe even if it's Memorial Day, weekend, or the weekends around that, even if it's to double check the, what they've already worked through, I think that might be important, because leaf season is certainly, very busy in Brevard, but I think, you got the summer camps in the summer, you got other factors that I think really make the summer when it's most critical.
Right.
So.
It's very important to get started right away.
Right.
But, if they take a little bit longer to complete their study, even though we're excited and looking forward to seeing the results of that, I think it's worth it to get good data.
Yeah, I would just encourage us to watch that and be sure that we're not just relying on fall data, that we can get some summer data as well.
Yes, sir.
And did they So I know we've mentioned cycling, but I think there's two, the Acosta Trail is not just cycling. It's obviously folks are going to be arriving to participate in the Acosta Trail as well. So did they discuss that, and is that going to factor into?
They did. They said they were going to factor it into their study. How it's done and stuff, I think, remains to be seen. But they did understand the importance of that, and they understand the timeline too,
Right.
when that will happen.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Mr. Wise?
Yeah, this is certainly a hot button issue, and it's hard to believe it's been 12 years since we looked at this parking, but I just do want to echo some of the things that Councilman Baker brought up about cycles. We're in the next 2 years looking at a huge influx of cyclists into our community. I want to make sure they're safe as well. Thank you.
Mr. Morrow?
Yeah, I do remember the 2013 study, and even then, there were a lot of opinions. Well, maybe we've doubled the amount of opinions now. Everybody's got But, so this will bring, the facts and the figures for public light and be able to make the right decisions. Thank you.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. All right, our final business under new business is the Downtown Master Plan Committee recommendation on stamped crosswalks and the Times Arcade Alley bump out reconfiguration. And
That's me, Mayor.
that's our city manager.
Over the summer, staff have been compiling up-to-date information on the various downtown master plan projects so that the Downtown Master Plan Committee could make important decisions about what to pursue next. As you all are aware, we've tightened our budgetary belt, so to speak, and so the Downtown Master Plan Fund is smaller than it used to be. And so, as staff, our goal is to provide the decision makers with all the best information so that they can make wise decisions. While we were doing that, though, we had two sort of opportunities pop up that the Downtown Master Plan Committee has therefore decided to pivot and make a recommendation to council that we pursue. The first would be to spend up to $100,000 with the state's identified contractor to add a set of stamped crosswalks similar to the ones we see at the intersection of Main and Broad to the intersection of Jordan and Broad. And this would happen pretty quickly in the weeks to come at the tail end of the just started milling and repaving project. 100,000 was the number that we used in the committee, but we don't know exactly what that's going to be. It could be as little as 70,000. We're working with the state right now to find that out, but the committee was comfortable spending 100K on that. The second suggestion that they have offered to the full council is to move forward with some safety and aesthetic enhancements to the new bulb out on Jordan Street at the exit of Times Arcade Alley. And in a minute, I'll ask David to come up and describe those. It was actually the old Downtown Master Plan Committee, and I say old because they've had some folks roll off and some new members come on over the last few months. It was actually the old committee that approved this concept that David's going to describe, but they didn't assign it any funding. They didn't put it forward for funding. Well, the new committee has agreed with their recommendation on what this reconfiguration should look like and is offering it to you to fund. And so they're willing to spend up to $50,000 on those reconfigurations. So between those two projects, anywhere from about 100K to 150K. And the reason why this is notable is because the balance of the Downtown Master Plan Fund at the moment is only around 180K. And so we'd be spending most of the balance of that fund. But the committee was aware of that and decided to move forward with the recommendation anyway. So David, if you will come up and describe what the reconfiguration of the bulb out on Jordan Street would include.
Sure. First, council, I want to apologize for my verb tense in the discussion section here. It reads as if you have already authorized us to move forward, and in my anxiousness, I guess I wrote it that way. The Jordan Street bulb out as we all may recall, there was an unfortunate placement of a Duke Energy pole at the exit of the Times Arcade Alley. And the pole lies where the natural flow of the sidewalk would be. If you were just to want to travel straight down the sidewalk, the pole is now in your way. And some of the, what we call the truncated cones, the little bumps on the sidewalk for visually impaired, are located in such a fashion that they would lead you into the pole. So we, after a lot of discussion with Duke Power, that particular pole has a tremendous amount of infrastructure on it and would be very difficult to move without a lot of changes. And the proximity of how close they can get to the building would also make it very difficult to move that pole. So leaving the pole in place and stepping back and re-looking at that bulb out, how we can best utilize that bulb out and make it aesthetically pleasing at the same time. We have a couple of different recommended approaches, and one of those is to just remove some of what I refer to as the visual clutter. So there are a lot of signs in that area. There were 2 wayfinding signs, a pedestrian sign, and a stop sign, all within the bulb out. And what we intend to do is put all of that basically on one sign, maybe 2. We may have a pedestrian warning sign and a wayfinding sign. And the stop sign will still be there, but we'll attach it to the building. So 3 of the 4, or at least 2 of the 4 signposts will go away. Hopefully 3 of the 4 signposts will go away. And then the path of travel for a visually impaired person will take the same, it's a common method of doing it, the same little cones that we talked about that are normally at crosswalks. They have a tile they inlay in the sidewalk that allows a visually impaired person to follow that. And what it'll do is it'll bring them from parallel to the building out kind of around the telephone pole or the utility pole. They'll cross straight across, and then the cones will bring them back into the path parallel with the building. So that flow of traffic will be, it'll still be a universal path. Whether you're visually impaired or not, everybody will follow that same path of travel. We'll also, we want to enhance as folks come out of the alley, making sure we get cars to stop. So stop sign is going to be on the building. We're going to paint stop on the ground. We're going to put a stop bar, really, really visually enhance that there's something going on there, as well as painting the crosswalk across the alley, which I don't believe, maybe it is in place now in the wrong place. I'm not sure if it's there or not, honestly. I don't remember. And then the final thing we would do is, as you exit the alley in a car right now, we would block the sidewalk so that if you were traveling adjacent to the buildings, you could not walk right into the alley opening, because that's a very blind spot. You would suddenly, step in front of a car. So that will be blocked with a railing, which again is what's going to force this, what I'm referring to as a universal path. So everybody will step out in a way. So all of the pedestrian traffic will be roughly 8 to 10 feet away from the exit of the alley. So it'll make pedestrians much more visible. And that's the bulk of what we're doing on the bulb out, if you ask us to move forward.
All right, council. Do I have a motion to adopt the Downtown Master Plan Committee's recommendation to move forward with the 2 projects as described using Fund $83?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Open for discussion. Mr. Daniel.
Making that motion kind of reminds me of going to the dentist. It's not pleasant, I'm not happy about it, but it needs to be done.
Yeah.
The whole thing about the telephone pole, the original discussion in the committee, it became very clear we're not going to get any satisfaction from Duke Power. And I think it was one of the committee members just said, well, we're getting 80% of what we need. And I think everybody on the committee said, well, that's probably the best we're going to get. I think we didn't allot any money at that time because we were hoping that we could talk to Duke Power. Maybe they'd give us some to fix up this mistake. that, which is actually a fairly serious mistake. However, as someone who has read a lot of blueprints, it's kind of hard to assign blame as to whose mistake it was. So it needs to be fixed. It's unsafe. The truncated domes as have been mentioned, lead you right into the pole. If you can't see that there's a pole there, you're going to walk into it. So it needs to be repaired, and this is the solution that was planning came up with. So we're, as a committee, we are supporting this.
Mr. Baker?
Yeah, I never, never thought I would find myself cursing at a telephone pole, but I definitely have done that more than once. I do have a couple of questions, and they follow well what was already stated, but I have a big picture question and a more detailed question. So the big picture question is, obviously, you know, it is difficult, as Gary said, to, you know, put your finger on where the mistake was made. But my question is, do we feel confident that we have the internal processes and procedures and staff and whatever else it may take for us to not have a situation like that again? And I know that's a somewhat of an open-ended question, but have we reviewed how we got here and made changes to how we're going to evaluate projects like this?
Yes, we have. We've hired David, who has experience looking at this, but.
No pressure.
We've also, you know, made it clear to our contractors that we're looking for their advice on things like this, that we're asking them to review the finer points of things. But I got to say that I think that this one was so shaped by the situation that it was a one-off, and that even though we've got these internal protections in place now, that we probably won't see a situation like this again. Just the geometry of that site made putting the restrictions that Duke has on the distance between their poles and buildings and so forth meant that even if the pole were to get moved, it would move about 12 inches.
Right.
And so it wouldn't improve the situation all that much. It can't go further out to the street because that's where the drainage infrastructure is under the ground. And so we couldn't post the pole in the ground deep enough. We couldn't move it closer to the building because that would put the transformers in that and the other infrastructure that's on that pole in too close a proximity to the building. And so it was just situationally so challenging out there that I think that's the biggest reason why the pole ended up where it was, and that the only alternative wouldn't have been much. It would have been an improvement, but it still would have been an imperfect placement of the pole.
Well, we certainly hand out lots of kudos to staff, so I'm going to just take a second just to challenge us all to, on the city side, to remember this pole. Go visit the pole, okay? And the next time we're working with, a contractor or Duke Energy, we need to recognize that Duke, in this particular instance, Duke does not care what the pole looks like. They don't care where the pole is, other than the purpose that it serves for them, which is, taking care of their utilities. So we have to be the ones that raise our hand and say, actually, that doesn't work for people walking down the sidewalk, or the people who live here, or the business that's right here. So, I hope that we've gotten better and learned from it, and I know that we will. So My detailed question is the railing. So not all railings are created equal. And, you know, we've done a lot in that area to make sure the alleyway looks nice. It looks, you know, professional. It looks like a downtown should. So are we talking like a 4-inch tube or a 3-inch tube? Or are we talking a decorative railing or what's the construction of that?
I don't think we know exactly yet, but it will be something that would be either a architectural brown or black that would, that's kind of, this is where we need Stephanie's help, right? And it would, but but something, you know, aesthetically appealing, not like the yellow handrails that we have at the handicap space.
That actually popped into my head when I was
And there may be some things there we can, Wilson and I have talked about even potentially doing some things aesthetically to those to make them look a little better as well. But it should be something that's more in line with, you know, our decorative wayfinding signpost and our, you know, it should have more of that aesthetic feel than a factory safety rail.
Okay, thank you. Those are all my questions.
Mr. Wise?
Yeah, it's an imperfect solution to a problem, certainly. I will say that Gary has cursed people like me throughout his whole career because as he's a builder, I'm an architect, and I have put a whole lot of stuff on plans that just could not happen in the real world. Don't tell my clients that. We'll just keep that in here, okay? But I can totally see when I looked at the plans how this could kind of just get lost. And I also agree with Gary that sometimes you have to go to the dentist. I also agree with Aaron that I hope we can take this as a good lesson and move forward. I'm sure with David on board now, we'll never have to talk about this again. No, you wouldn't have this, no.
Mr. Morrow?
Sounds like a great solution to the problem. And it might be that the accountant at Duke got mad at us because we saved $180,000 on the Railroad Avenue, or the bridge project. So they ended up having to put the poles in and relocate them at their expense because we proved the road was there before the power. So how about that?
All right, we've got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. All right, that is the end of new business. We are on final remarks. And we will start with Mr. Daniel.
I think I've made enough remarks. I have no other.
All right, we'll go to Mr. Baker.
Okay, I haven't made enough remarks, so I'm going to take Gary's time. First, I want to bring up the acoustic trail planning / strategy meeting that we've talked about several times. I just think with the trail coming, we need to be sure that all the other things that the city does, sort of including economic development and planning and zoning and you know, public safety, public works, all of that sort of fits together. And I think the time is right for a meeting like that. I also want to talk about the county real quick there. I want to thank them for considering the funding requests that we've submitted to them. And I want to say that if they have questions, please, 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 please reach out to us or Wilson or the staff. And do that quickly so that we can get those answers back to you. I don't want to hear at their meeting that they didn't have all the information that they needed, because we have the time now to get it to them. I believe we have all the information, so if they need additional things, please reach out to us. And also, again, thank them for considering that funding request. I want to congratulate the Heart of Brevard and Pisgah Forest Rotary for the Plein Air Festival and the Assault on the Carolinas. two big events that aren't usually on the same weekend and got jammed together in one weekend, and I think we pulled it off. I'm sure that our staff worked hard to do that, including our public safety staff and public works, so thank you to everybody that worked on that. Mills Avenue, or are we calling it, we're calling it something else now, but
We know what you mean.
Okay, the Mills Avenue. I do think we should publish an update widely on where we currently stand with that. I know we've talked about it internally and at the committee level, but I think we need to maybe do a special update on that. And also, I want to bring up something I talked about before, which is maybe potentially reopening the closure on, you know what I'm talking about, North and West Lane over there. I don't know if that's possible, but I would like to hear whether we can, if this is going to take longer and that road's going to be closed for an extended period of time, I'd like to make sure we investigate some alternatives and detours if they exist. And then finally, I don't get woo-woo too often, but I'm going to get a little woo-woo. I went on I took the day off work today. I went on a long mountain bike ride, which I have not been doing much of lately. And I went from my house in town, down the bike trail, all the way into the forest, up Joel Branch, up Stony Knob, and then down Bracken, and barely survived, cramped up on the way out. But when I was sitting up there at the top of Bracken at the bench and there was nobody there, I saw about 10 million acorns. I saw 5 people the whole time. I was thinking about that loop that I just completed and all the different projects that are represented in that. And, you know, Bracken and Councilman Morrow has, you know, we owe him so much in terms of the Bracken Preserve, but also the Esteto Trail that I rode on. You know, the Stony Knob section was funded by tourism dollars from the bed tax. You know, I'm sure I'm going to forget other things, but it just reminded me that sometimes partnerships like that actually extend far beyond what you might originally conceive. And the fact that we have that loop so close to town is just amazing. And I don't know, I think the Pisgah Conservancy is still looking to name that route. I don't know if have they announced that yet?
No, we haven't yet.
Okay. Well, I want to say publicly and advocate that I submitted a proposal for it to be called the Morrow Loop, because I hope they take that into consideration, because I think the work that Councilman Morrow did on Bracken and the trail, you know, made that possible. And it's incredible that we live in a place where we can do something like that right out our front door. So, thank you.
Mr. Wise?
Yeah, couple things. It's exciting. This is Constitution Week. I'm glad to see that. You know, my granddad used to say wisdom kept chasing him, but he was too fast. And I often feel that way myself. So it's hard to kind of put into words a lot of the discourse that's happened over the past little bit here. But I do want to say that one thing I do like to do is revisit the founding principles, and it kind of keeps me sane and centered through all the chaos we're experiencing. Number 2, moving on to more lighter things. This month is Hispanic Heritage Month. So I would love everyone to kind of celebrate that vibrant and amazing culture in our, both locally and nationally, because that's an amazing group of people who have contributed so much to this melting pot of the United States. And third, Aaron touched on this briefly, but next Monday at 6, the county commissioners will be discussing how they want to allocate the $11.6 million in grant funding they had for infrastructure improvements. I would encourage all of us to speak to them and let them know that our asks are all about helping families in our community, and not in Brevard, but these are Transylvania County people. I'm a Transylvania County resident. We all up here represent the city, but we live in Transylvania County, and all of our housing efforts are for the benefit of the county as a whole. And they have a lot of tough choices ahead of them, and I think we can kind of try to help guide them upon what we're seeing in our community. And that's all I have.
Mr. Morrow?
Real quickly, I was just pleased to see in the report, Dean, that you got 35% of your budget in the month of August, so congratulations. Thank you. Not a bad number.
All right, Mr. Attorney.
You know, I don't usually talk about stuff like this, but I saw something in the paper today that I wanted to underline, which was that the city of Brevard over the last 2 years has actually had a substantial drop in crime, according to the State Bureau of Investigation, which is amazing considering all the, what was the word, keyboard warriors that was used by a county commissioner here.
There's only one of those here.
Yeah. They're out there saying, talking about how dangerous it is in Brevard. It seems like it's getting a lot safer. So thank you, Tom. And for all the efforts of your people, and especially the 8 that stayed behind, ma'am, and kept this city safe. It seems like it's working and it's getting safer every day. So I appreciate that, and ask the keyboard warriors to take due note of that as well.
Amen.
Madam Clerk?
I'm all set, thank you.
Mr. Manager?
Yes, ma'am, I've got two. The first is, we got word from NCDOT late this afternoon that the contractor that's doing the milling and repaving project is deviating from their plan a little bit. They're still going to be out there working for the next few weeks, but it's going to look a little different than what we were expecting. And we're going to try to get on the horn with NCDOT tomorrow and find out exactly what that means. So stay tuned. That project's going to go off a little different than we originally thought, we think. Second thing is, this will be Chief Jordan's last meeting with us, and so I echo Mac and say thank you, Tom, for your service to this organization and to the community of Brevard. And I'll ask council members to pencil in the afternoon of the 29th, 2 weeks from today, for a celebration of Tom's time here with us.
All right, thank you. Just a couple of things. As always, we've had a lot of major business going on here tonight, and I just want to remind people, you know, our city is over 150 years old, and a lot of our infrastructure dates back to the beginning of our city. And we are tackling those really difficult infrastructure issues of how do you upgrade major pieces of your infrastructure. And I'm very proud of the fact that our staff has worked so diligently on this, and that we've worked with some really top-rate contractors that we brought on board, and that we have a plan forward that will take care of our city for decades to come, with our wastewater treatment plant moving forward, creating the stormwater, analysis, and then, the infrastructure. All of these things that, you don't see it. It's not something big and fun, but it's something that is so essential to the health and well-being and the future of our community. And that's what proactive planning is all about. And that is what we really have been concentrating on for the last several years. And now it's coming to fruition. And we do have these plans, and we have executable plans that are going to really set us up for success for the future. We're also tackling the issue of parking. We've heard about parking, we've listened, we've heard, the issue that people have brought to us. I am so glad that we're going to have additional parking spaces added. And we're doing a study to really get data to tell us, are we effectively using the existing parking that we have? Do we need more parking? How do we incorporate changes that have come with, really the increase of multimodal transportation with the bikes, with the increase of pedestrians, and how do we really make that happen? So again, planning, looking at the future, looking at the big picture, and getting the data that allows us to make decisions that will take care of this community as we move into the future. Last weekend was amazing. I want to again thank our staff. I always see them out there. I always thank them when they are out there, but I know it was a lot of work. Our police department, our public works department, they were out there, our fire department. But we had our town looking so good, and all the feedback I got from people during those two festivals. We had 600 riders on the Assault on the Carolinas, many of them from out of town, and 80% of those riders are repeat riders. They come back because our town is so welcoming, we are so friendly, they have such a great experience. And that's the feedback I got from them. We had 25 artists out there painting. Again, a lot of visitors, a lot of local artists, and the feedback from the artists, a totally different, different demographic probably than the bike riders, but that feedback was how welcoming and how special our town is. And that is a tribute to the staff, it is a tribute to our community, and it is a tribute to just the vision, the leadership, the volunteers that step up and say, how can we make our town better? Be it adopt a drain, adopt a green space. It is teamwork and that unity that we bring really that has made our town so very, very special. And it was out on exhibit this weekend in a safe environment. I don't know of any major incidents. I don't know of any major accidents on the AOTC. So again, very, very special weekend. Constitution Week, I already told you all the stuff that's going on with Constitution Week. I'm not kidding. I keep a copy of that document sitting basically 18 inches from me on my desk. If you've ever been in my office, you'll see it sits right there. It's important to remember what is in that document. It is important to remember how special that document is, and that we have incredible freedoms in this country. And those freedoms apply to everybody, and everyone has the right to their opinion, to free speech. They have the right to religion, to meet, all of those rights. And with those rights comes the responsibility for us to recognize that other people have those same rights, whether we agree with them or we don't agree with them. So I just encourage people during Constitution Week to take a few minutes to step back from some of the heated, vitriolic messaging that is out in the public realm, and just step back and say, we are all Americans, we are all part of a country that is based on these incredible rights, and we all respect one another, and we respect the fact that we all have those rights. So, two last things. We've got the Halloween anniversary event coming up on September 27th. I hope everyone will come and join us. I know our age-friendly task force, again, volunteers from the community, have worked very, very hard in terms of building education and knowledge and resilience for disasters with our community. And I'm really looking forward to seeing the video that we have got, that Dr. Hartman-Stein has been working so hard And again, she is a volunteer, okay? She does all of this as a volunteer in our community, and that's very, very special. But we'll be doing that, and we'll be recognizing the incredible community efforts, all of the local heroes, your neighbors, your friends, our faith groups, everybody that stepped up and helped one another. And let's all go out and let's celebrate that idea of a unified community that simply takes care of one another's neighbors. So that's on September 27th. And then finally, as always, I've got my Meet the Mayor. That's coming up on September 25th, 11:30 to 1 o'clock at Mary C. Jenkins. And that's an opportunity to have an open, informal dialogue with the mayor. And we'll talk about whatever's on your mind. So thank you very much. I think at this point, we need to move into closed session. So
Mayor,
I
I'd
need...
request that we invite Kelly Craig to the closed session, please.
Okay, we'll invite Kelly Craig. Council, do I have a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are now in closed session. Please secure the broadcast and please empty the room. Thank you all very much for coming.